Chapter 122 of Chainsaw Man just revealed a new primal fear and might have even spoiled the ending of the entire story with the reveal of the prophecy of Nostradamus. All of this being brought to light in a casual sit down between Yoshida and the Famine Devil. In this brief little dinner date, we see Yoshida question Fami about her true intentions and reveals that an experiment was done where 30 prisoners were told to make contracts with the Future Devil and then asked to ask the Future Devil when they will die. Well, to public safety's surprise, it turns out that 23 of the 30 inmates were set to die in July of 1999. And this date is extremely important because Yoshida also points out that there's a prophecy going around by Nostradamus that states in the 7th month of 1999, a great king of terror will descend. The real interesting part about all this is that this is an actual real prophecy that was made by Nostradamus in real life. There's plenty of debate as to the specific translation of this prophecy, but of course many people cling on to the more grim and dark interpretation that's actually being explored here in the manga. What's also very interesting is that although nothing really ever happened in July of 1999 in real life, the fact that Nostradamus made this prediction during a time where the Julian calendar was prominent means that the exact date had actually changed. Now, the Julian calendar was a form of calendar used about up until the mid 1500s, where the majority of the world then switched to the Gregorian calendar, which we still use today. So since we now use the Gregorian calendar and not the Julian calendar, the prophecy was actually meant to take place in August of 1999, since the two calendars differ by about 2 weeks. Well, it just so happens that on August 11th of 1999, the world witnessed a total solar eclipse where the moon completely covered the sun for a short time. Now, taking this into consideration, I would definitely not doubt that Fujimoto implements this into the event of the prophecy where the ultimate big bad, this king of terror of the series, will cast a solar eclipse as it descends from the sky. I mean, doesn't that just seem like a classic Fujimoto scene? Just this crazy, horrifying event where this ultra powerful being descends from the sky and the entire sky is completely pitch black as the moon covers the sun. I mean, I'm getting pretty excited just thinking about it. But speaking of this king of terror that's been prophesized, many of us had originally thought that this was referring to the arrival of the final horseman of the apocalypse, the Death Devil. Well, it turns out that this isn't actually the case, because in this same conversation, Fami actually points out that the first devil to shepherd the world into ultimate terror has just arrived. We as the readers, of course, know this to be the mysterious devil that faced off against Asa in the previous chapter. And seeing as how Fami labels this devil as a primal fear, and it's heavily implied that this is indeed the Death Devil in this chapter, it starts raising a ton of questions, right? Well, I actually think I have a pretty good idea of who this ultimate big bad is that we'll be seeing at the end of the series, and it's going to be very, very epic. But before we get into that, we have to discuss why it's like an 80% chance that this means that the devil that's facing off against Yoru right now is actually the Death Devil. Because of course it isn't clearly stated quite yet, but following some context clues along with the manga, it's made almost a certainty in my opinion. At some point in this chapter, we get taken to a young couple that's hanging out in their apartment. The guy talks about how he's getting a promotion at work and how he'll be probably making more money from then on, and his girlfriend seems to be pretty happy for him. Well, he also then asks if he can buy a car with all that extra money, and for some reason she's totally against it, and the guy actually ends up agreeing with her because of how expensive it is to actually maintain having a car. Well, strangely, as he's going through the negatives of owning a car, he suddenly turns to the girl and says, "Hey, don't you think we should just die?" And the girl just literally just casually agrees with him, and they go on to jump off the balcony to their deaths. And we then find out that this is along with actually a ton of other people that are jumping to their deaths right in front of Asa. If you couple this brief interaction along with the things Asa was saying in the previous chapter about how she hates her life and feels like she would be better off dead, you can build a pretty obvious connection here. It seems that this devil has the ability to alter the state of mind of anyone around them to literally make them want to end their own lives, which definitely seems like an ability that would be right up the Death Devil's alley, right? I originally thought that this was actually the Darkness Devil based on how pitch black it was outside when they arrived, and that they even have these weird bone wings that the Darkness Devil showed to have in part 1 of the manga, along with the fact that they just have this like generally similar aesthetic to them. I mean, it still is possible that this could be the Darkness Devil or some new primal fear, and the Death Devil is indeed the one that will show up in July of 1999. The reason I don't really think that this is the case though is that there is a much more fitting possibility in my opinion. I firmly believe that the King of Terror being referred to in the prophecy is none other than God. No, not like the God Devil or something like that, like literally just straight up God. The reason I believe this is from the wording of the prophecy, where it states that a King of Terror will descend, which implies that they'll be arriving from the sky. On top of that, there are many religious interpretations, specifically referring to Christianity, which predicts the end of times after the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse appear. After that, God descends from the sky and takes the chosen few to heaven, while the rest of humanity is left to die on earth. I think once God descends in Chainsaw Man, they'll declare that the entire human race is tainted or sinful or something, and decide to wipe out everyone from existence through some horrifying cataclysmic event. Now, there is a small possibility that this will be the God Devil or something similar, and the way they technically descend is by traveling through one of those hell doors that we know the Hell Devil can cast, which would technically make them descend from the sky, seeing as how these doors open in the sky. But if this were the case, I think there would be something much more horrifying that will happen, where along with this King of Terror, there are actually millions of doors covering the entire sky, much like they do in hell, and every devil from hell descends from each one of those doors to kickstart the actual apocalypse. I mean, this could possibly be like a Berserk level event where there's this eclipse and all these demons appear and just completely shred every human in sight. Regardless of how this all happens though, it's been made pretty clear with this chapter that Fujimoto has a truly twisted and horrifying plan for the end of Chainsaw Man. But until then, make sure to check out my full chapter review for chapter 122 of Chainsaw Man by clicking on the video right here.